Hi, my name is Christopher Malcolm, and welcome to Movable Canvas, where we talk about cinema, art, culture, and where those things sometimes intersect. In today's episode, we'll put on our best pinstripe suits and take a trip to Wall Street with director Oliver Stone. Is there such a thing as a more 1980s movie than Wall Street? For those of us who were around back then, the film is like a time capsule for everything American society seemed to value at the time: wealth, excess, trickle down economics. Truthfully, there were a lot of things to characterize the decade, but like most societies, our values seem to be set at the top. And in 1987, Ronald Reagan reigned supreme. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of politics here, but what is relevant to today's discussion is a three-word phrase that came to define Reagan's legacy: trickle down economics. It's a rather misguided theory that society is best served when the rich get richer. The idea is that when the rich get richer, the wealth will somehow magically trickle down throughout society and the rising tide will lift all boats. Of course, in actual reality, when the rich get richer, well, the rich just get richer, and the poor tend to get poorer. There's a line in the film where the legendary Gordon Gekko, a fan of the trickle down theory, points out that the top 1% of the population owns 50% of the country's wealth. I guess at the time this essay is being written, the top 1% actually only owns like a third of the country's wealth, so I guess that's progress. Or I guess if you're a Gordon Gekko, you might actually consider that to be a tragedy. Gordon Gekko, played by Michael Douglas, is the kind of no-holds-barred capitalist that views business as an every man for himself type of enterprise, where only the strong survive and the weak shall rightly perish. He lives for one thing: to win. Motivated by equal parts greed and simmering hatred for any sign of compassion, Gordon Gekko is a Wall Street legend, both on and off the screen. His famous "greed is good" monologue was memorized by an entire generation of MBA students who would also take to slicking back their hair and endlessly quoting from Sun Tzu's The Art of War. But, well, Gordon Gekko is the bad guy. The lead in our film is Bud Fox, played by a very young Charlie Sheen. He is the cipher that will take the audience into the world of Wall Street. But he also shares a similar background to his idol. During one of his tirades, Gordon Gekko lets loose his anger on those who have inherited their wealth by proudly exclaiming his own working class roots. It's the familiar pull yourself up by your bootstraps speech that is very much part of the American dream. Bud, the son of a blue collar union leader, begins our story in search of a way to transcend his own humble beginnings and follow in Gordon's footsteps. He's working at a mid-sized stock trading company, is not necessarily any more skilled than any of his other colleagues, but Bud still believes he's destined for something better. So he spends half of his day trying to get onto Gordon Gekko's radar. He feels that if he can get Gordon to trade with him, it will put him on the fast track to success. And, he's not wrong about this. But what he never stops to consider is what will be the price of that success. Oliver Stone and Stanley Weiser's script for Wall Street is a masterclass in character development. In the opening act, Bud Fox is no different than many members of the audience. We are introduced to the exclusive world of Wall Street, then offered a glimpse into Bud's humble but honest background when he goes to visit his father Carl, played by Charlie Sheen's actual father, Martin Sheen, in upstate New York. Carl doesn't really understand his son's obsession with the glitz and glamour of Wall Street. To Carl, a man's worth isn't determined by his bank account, and he fails to see why working on Wall Street is, in any way, a step up from a mid-level management position at the airline where Carl leads the union. Bud, a product of Reaganomics and the 1980s emphasis on wealth and excess, can't see settling for anything less than the right lifestyles of the rich and famous. He doesn't care about his father's version of respectability. He wants money. He wants to be a player in the game. Writing interesting characters means balancing two distinct thoughts at once. Our characters have wants, and our characters have needs. They are rarely the same thing. And our characters don't always know which is which. In this case, Bud's want is to become a millionaire on Wall Street, but his need, just beneath the surface, seems to be gaining the respect of his father. Carl's dismissal of Bud's Wall Street pursuit only serves to further strengthen his son's resolve, convinced that once he becomes rich and powerful, that his father will have no choice but to respect him. When Bud finally is able to get onto Gordon Gekko's radar, the older man serves not only as a business mentor, but also as something of a father figure. But a father figure who gets it, who understands the nobility of putting profit over people. Someone like him who worships the almighty dollar. But to fully earn Gordon's respect, Bud first needs to shed his own principles. Like most descents into immorality, this happens a little bit at a time. It starts with Bud providing insider information about the airline his father works for that allows Gordon to make a killing in the market. While Bud feels guilt about this, he knows that he's broken the law. He has not yet fully gone over to the dark side. But the fact that Bud is willing to show even this smallest crack in his morality is all the opening Gordon needs to exploit him even more. Gordon plays Bud like a fiddle, and pretty soon, Bud finds himself getting deeper and deeper into morally questionable activities on Gordon's behalf. In exchange, Gordon is making Bud's dream come true. Bud is a legitimate player in the game with a penthouse apartment in Manhattan, a beautiful girlfriend, and enough perceived power to make a name for himself. Yet despite getting exactly what he thought he wanted, he still doesn't get the one thing he really needs, the respect of his father. When his world with Gordon becomes even more entangled with his father's airline, Bud positions himself as the savior, the ultimate power play. He will not only make the airline and Gordon money, but he will put himself at the center of it as its CEO. When this news is greeted with acceptance by everyone in the room except for Carl, the blow is devastating. Not only is Bud professionally humiliated, but more importantly, it's the most concrete evidence yet that his father doesn't respect him. Of course, Carl's refusal to go in with Gordon in the same way as his son goes in with Gordon isn't all about family dynamics. Carl senses quite correctly that Gordon is not to be trusted. He can see right through the facade in a way that his ambitious son cannot. But the blow-up ultimately leads to the downfall of both Gordon and his son. Now, Gordon is rich, and if we've learned anything from living in the real world, it's that rich people don't always end up having to pay the price for their actions. So I suspect that Gordon Gekko, despite the attention from the SEC, he wouldn't suffer for too long. But for the overly ambitious Bud, his rapid rise and fall is the physical embodiment of the warning given to him early in the film by a colleague played by Hal Holbrook. There are no shortcuts to success. Ironically, the film closes on a far more humble note, yet is all the more effective for it. Bud's father is driving him to court for what will undoubtedly result in a long jail sentence. His son has lost his moral compass and is guilty of a major crime, but in the way Bud has eventually come to see the light and try to do the right thing, he's finally won his father's respect, which in the end, is really what he was searching for all along. Thanks for watching Movable Canvas, where we talk about cinema, art, culture, and everything in between. If you like this type of discussion, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you'll be notified when the next video is available. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. I mean, is there a world where greed is actually good? How might the story have played out differently had Bud's father supported him from the beginning? Is Gordon Gekko a hero or a villain? Looking forward to hearing your thoughts below. Until next time, have a great day.